الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان إلى آخر الآية صدق الله العظيم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم سلمنا لرمضان وسلم رمضان لنا وسلمه لنا متقبلا أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في دعائه. Honorable ulama, respected elders, dearest brothers and friends in Islam, as always we begin by praising only Allah Azza wa Jal. For indeed it is Allah in His infinite wisdom and mercy who has blessed us with so many bounties. We cannot possibly begin to let alone comprehend and thereafter give gratitude, become mashkoor, become shakir to Allah Azza wa Jal. From the many bounties that Allah Azza wa Jal has given us is this time that we find ourselves in. The date today is already the 24th of Rajab, coinciding with the 24th of January. And predictions are that this Mubarak month of Ramadan will be starting a day before, a day after, but around the 1st of March. That gives us around 5 weeks. Now, when we study the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we realize that there is a dua that has been taught, that has been carried down through the ages, that many of us may know, and that most ai will make regularly from the beginning of Rajab. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. And the meaning of this dua, many may know as well. We beg of you, O Allah, to grant us barakah in this month of Rajab, and we beg of you, O Allah, to grant us barakah in the month of Sha'ban. وَبَلِّغْنَا Ramadan. We beg of you, O Allah, to make it possible for us to reach and arrive at the Mubarak month of Ramadan. Let us think about it this way, that Ramadan is the destination, Rajab and Sha'ban is the road that leads to that destination. And you and I are expected that on this road, in order for us to enjoy ourselves and to benefit at our destination, we need to make various stops. We need to do various collections along the route. And every day, there is a collection point that we are supposed to have stopped at and have done a collection that we will require at our destination. So the question that all of us need to ask ourselves is, how many of those stops have we made already? Have we stopped sufficiently? Have we collected what we need so that when we arrive at our destination Ramadan, we will be adequately prepared for what awaits us? If the answer is yes, then alhamdulillah. And in terms of Ramadan and the preparations of Ramadan, No person could possibly say that, well, I have made sufficient and adequate preparations for the month of Ramadan. There is nothing more that I need to do. Our yardstick, our role model, always has been and always will be the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the galaxy of Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een. They are the benchmark. And that is why Allah Azza wa Jal emphatically acknowledges in the Quran al-Kareem that رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum made such efforts that Allah Azza wa Jal acknowledged their efforts, and Allah Azza wa Jal granted them the accolade of His ultimate and eternal pleasure. This is something that every single one of us should aspire for. We all want Jannah without a shadow of doubt. The only way we will be able to attain Jannah is if we tread the same path that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum went down. In fact, when we study Quran and Hadith, the word that is found and the word that is used very often is ittiba'. We must commit ourselves to the ittiba' of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba. Now, what is ittiba'? Ittiba' is a very unique Arabic word that denotes following the footsteps of somebody so precisely that it is as if we are walking in a minefield. And the person in front knows exactly where those explosives have been planted and treads very carefully. And every person behind has to place their right foot in the place where the person in front, the leader, the guide, has placed his or her right foot, and place their left foot where the guide has placed his or her left foot. Failing which, we will step on a landmine and that it will be the end of us. This is ittiba'. That means blind submission, irrespective of the fact that you and I, due to our puny and deficient intellect, fail to understand the reasoning, fail to understand the rationale, are unable to fathom what the intricacies, the delicacies, the nuances of every decision, of every instruction of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba. So this is our obligation, to follow. If we want to be in Jannah with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba, and every one of us want to, then it is necessary that we follow. We are not even required, Allah has made it so easy for us. We are not required to apply our own rationale. Allah has not made deen difficult, that we are left perplexed, that we do not know what to do. We are simply told that the path has been crossed, instructions are there, simply follow the instructions. Allah has made deen so easy. Ad-deenu yusrun. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam informs us that deen is very, very easy. Many people here may start rationalizing this statement and may say, well, deen is difficult. I have to do this, I have to do that. However, if we analyze it, we will realize that, for example, if deen was difficult, we would have been told that despite your fatigue, you are not allowed to sleep. Despite your hunger, you are not allowed to eat. We are told you are tired, you are weary, rest. Simply ensure when resting that your rest and your sleep follows the pattern of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba. Now every moment of our rest becomes an ibadah. We are not told do not eat. We are told when you are hungry, when you need to eat, by all means go ahead and eat. Simply ensure that you eat that which is halal. Eat in the correct manner, eat with the right hand, recite the dua before, then even our eating becomes ibadah. So those, like most of us, including myself, who love eating and who love sleeping, will find that a major percentage of our lives, if we simply follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is already ibadah. That is how easy Allah has made it. Not very different to that is this season that we find ourselves in, this journey that we are on, headed towards Ramadan for the short journey, headed towards Jannah for the long journey. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has explained everything to us. And when we sum it all up, the net result is that if we live our Ramadan correctly, then inshallah the remaining 11 months will also be spent like Ramadan. And then our death will be more an enjoyable an occasion than even the day of Eid. We all look forward to Eid. But do we look forward to the moment that we depart from this world? Are we prepared for Malakul Maut? Are we ready to meet our Creator, our Rabb, our Allah? If you and I had made an effort on our Iman to the degree that we are required, then we would understand this hadith, and like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Tuhfatul mu'min al-maut. The best gift that you can give a true believer is death. Why? Al-mawtu jusrun yusiru al-habib ila al-habib. Because death is nothing more for a believer than a bridge that links the lover to the beloved. However, the reality is, myself included and first and foremost, are not ready for death. We realize that we have so much that we've done incorrectly, so much of damage control that still needs to be done, so much that hasn't been done that still needs to be done, so many things that we still want to achieve. And even though sometimes that spark of Iman flickers and we say, well, I realize now I need to do it, our arch enemy, Shaitan, in cahoots with our nafs, works against us. One from the right, one from the left, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from in front and the other from behind. And they use delay tactics. Today I'm very busy. Tomorrow I will start. But when we arrive at tomorrow, it is again today. And then the cycle continues. Not today. Today I'm busy. Tomorrow. But tomorrow never ever arrives. That is why a poet very beautifully says in Urdu, the translation of which is Kal na kal kar ki kal ka bharosa nahi, kal na aayegi kal, that do not ever place any reliance on tomorrow, because tomorrow is never going to come. When we wake up tomorrow, it will be today again. Coming back to the aspect that we started with, today is already the 24th of Rajab, coinciding with the 24th of January. How much of my preparations have I begun? How much of my preparations have I made for Ramadan? Now, one may ask, what preparations am I required to make for Ramadan? A very important question, nonetheless. So everything that we do in Ramadan is what we need to prepare for. A person, an athlete who is preparing for a triathlon, will know exactly what they need to do. A student who's getting ready for an exam knows exactly what they need to do. A person who's going for a job interview knows exactly what is needed for that job interview. Do you and I know what preparations are required for Ramadan? Ramadan is a month of fasting. So first of all, have we started our fasting preparations? Or will it be that on the first of Ramadan, we will suddenly have this realization, we will be jolted awake and realize, Subhanallah, I've made no preparations. Ramadan is already here. No spiritual preparations, no physical preparations. And when we talk about preparations, we are not talking about those preparations that get made in our kitchens for our iftar. That is not the preparations that are required. Those happen. Those happen naturally and instinctively. The preparations that we are talking about are the ones that Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum did naturally and instinctively. To such an extent that the Sahabiyat, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen also say that in the month of Rajab they used to start keeping any outstanding fast that they had from the previous Ramadan, and in Rajab they would complete all of it. And the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would increase his fasting. So throughout the year, without a shadow of doubt, there was every Monday, every Thursday, and what is referred to as Ayyamul Bid, the white days, the bright days, the 13th, 14th and 15th of every Islamic month, the Rasul of Allah kept these without leaving them out. And then over and above that, the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam kept. In the month of Rajab, this was increased. In the month of Sha'ban, it was increased so much that many Sahaba mentioned that it was almost that there was not a day left that the Rasul of Allah did not fast. That means it may have been 1 or 2 days that the Rasul of Allah left in the month of Sha'ban in preparation for Ramadan. Ramadan is also the month of Salah. Last year, a brother accepted Islam just before Ramadan. And then in Ramadan, I checked up with him to find out how it was going. So he said to me, brother, these night prayers are very long. I've been doing 37 rak'at for Isha. Now as I look around, I see that confused look on many of our faces. Where did 37 come from? But if we had to add 20 of Taraweeh to 17 of Isha, then we arrive at 37. How many of us even do at any time of the year 17 rak'at for Isha? Or do we just do the 4 farq behind the Imam and then the 3 witr and we call it a night, 7? What about the other 10 rak'at? Recently in our class with students, we asked, who can tell us as soon as we finish the question, how many rak'at are there in Jumu'ah? Even the students are looking at each other. How many of us even remember that there are 14 rak'at in Jumu'ah? When was the last time we even read? Once a year? Once in 10 years? That we even did all 14 rak'at. Now Ramadan is that month which if we have not prepared adequately for it, it will slip by and we will not even realize it. And then we'll be left with regret, deep regret. And there's obviously no guarantee that we will see the next Ramadan. And yet Ramadan is a special favor from Allah to you and I. In fact, none of us, especially myself, have any guarantee that we'll even see this Ramadan. But if we start making adequate preparations, at least we'll be able to say to Allah, Allah, I started making my preparations. You see, the intention is what counts and the effort is what adds to it. There is an incident of this person that is mentioned in many kutub of ahadith. A very great, grave sinner. He killed 99 people. And then he came to a scholar. And he said to this person, I'm now suddenly filled with regret. I have murdered 99 people. Is there any hope for me? That person was an ignorant person. He said, no hope for you. So the murderer thought, well, why not? Let's make it a century. He killed him also. And then he traveled, he continued. He met somebody who said to him, that you see in the direction you are traveling, down this road there is a town. In that town there is a very pious scholar of Allah. And there is definitely hope for you. Go and see him. He will show you the road to repentance. And this person was sincere. En route to his destination, he collapsed and he passed away. The angels of thawab and reward on the one hand, and the angels of adab and punishment on the other hand, were having a tug of war. The angels of thawab were saying, of reward, that this man was headed in the right direction, he needs to be rewarded. The angels of adab were saying, but he already committed 99 murders, he has not repented yet, he needs to be repented. He needs to be punished. So they were each wanting to take him their separate ways. A decision was eventually made that measure the distance from the town that he left after he committed the last murder to the town that he was going to. If the distance that he had covered was greater to his destination, he will be rewarded, he will be forgiven. And if the destination or if the distance was less that he had covered, then he will be punished. Allah Azza wa Jalla instructed the malaika to fold the earth so that the distance to his destination was a much shorter distance, and the distance he had covered towards his destination was a longer distance, and his decision was made for him to be forgiven. Our Allah is merciful. Our Allah is Ghafoor and Rahim. We simply have to make the effort to Allah. So salah is an effort that we need to make. First of all, our 5 times fard salah per day. The masjid should be this full 5 times a day, not just on Jumu'ah. Over and above that, tahajjud salah. Immediately after Salatul Isha, any nawafil that we perform will be written as tahajjud, qiyamul layl. Salatul Ishraq, 10 minutes after sunrise. Salatul Awwabin, after the Maghrib salah. And then tilawat of Quran. When was the last time we recited Quran? Once a family invited someone over, an esteemed guest, and cut a long story short, some money that was left at the corner of the table that somebody came to drop off miraculously disappeared. They searched, they hunted, and they concluded erroneously that our guest stole the money. So they invited the guest the second time. This time when he came there were no smiling faces. There was no decked out table. They started interrogating him. Where's the money? He started smiling. They said, you steal our money and now you mock us by smiling? He said, you think I stole the money? I saw the wind blow it off the table, so I left it, I placed it under the Quran. Had you lifted up the Quran in the last many weeks or days, you would have found that money. But this simply proves that nobody even touched the Quran, therefore you found no money. When was the last time we opened our Qurans? Nowadays we give beautiful gifts as Quran sets to people getting married. It has been reduced, Allah forgive us, to ornamental value. Whereas the value of the Quran is in reciting it correctly and implementing it in our lives. The Quran is the living miracle of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Ramadan is also the month of dua. The hadith of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Hatta yuftir. As long as the person is fasting, his dua is readily accepted. All of us are filled with needs, filled with desires, filled with problems. And we need Allah to accept our dua. How are we going to achieve that? Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions in the Quran, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. First of all, let us all remember that we do not have to stand at the top of the mountain and shout out. Allah says, I am close. أَقَرِيبٌ رَبُّنَا فَنُنَاجِيهِ أَمْ بَعِيدٌ فَنُنَادِيهِ. A Sahabi asked, O Rasul of Allah, tell us, is Allah very far away that we have to shout out at the top of our lungs and our voices? Or is Allah very close that we simply whisper, Allah waliyas? This ayat was revealed. Allah is very close. So close that if we whisper the intentions in our hearts, Allah hears it, Allah knows it, Allah acknowledges it. The other ayah, أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. I will definitely give you whatever you want on the condition you give me what I want. What does Allah want from us? It is a guarantee that what Allah wants from us, every one of us can afford. Submission, obedience, does not cost a cent. We can all afford it. If we want our dua to be accepted, meaning if we want Allah to give us what we want, we need to give Allah what Allah wants. Ramadan is also the month of sadaqah, charity. Shahrul Muwasat. It is the month of compassion. Let us contemplate how many people's everyday lives, throughout their life, is like Ramadan, fasting, yet without sihri and without iftar, because they have nothing to eat. Let us gather up some money that we have and discharge it in the month of Ramadan. And this is our preparation. And on one last concluding point, it is commonly known that the 27th night of Rajab is the night of Mi'raj. Was it a great night? Of course, without a shadow of doubt. The Rasul of Allah transcended the heavens and came back with the gift of Salah that opens the keys to the treasures of Allah. And as-salatu miftahul Jannah, it is the key to open Jannah. If we want to commemorate Laylatul Mi'raj, it is done every day in the masjid 5 times a day. Not on one specific day of the year, concerning which Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala had so many differences of opinion that they never commemorated it thereafter. They did not even concur that it happened and occurred in the same month. My time has lapsed. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us all the ability to prepare adequately for the month of Ramadan and make the effort and create a mahol, an environment, a bi'ah in our masajid, in our homes. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.